Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of the Virtual Campus Conversation held through the AUCTV. The campus conversations aim to communicate directly and consistently with the AUC community and answer all their questions. This initiative came after the decision of the AUC president to work remotely, to minimize presence on campus, and to announce the move to the online learning. Allow me to introduce my distinguished guests at the Kamal Adham Center studio. President Frank Ricciardone, AUC President. Provost Ehab Abdel-Rahman, AUC Provost. Dina Abulfotuh, Vice President for Marketing and Communication and Public Relations and the head of the Coronavirus Response Task Force. Let me go directly to and begin with President Ricciardone and ask if you can give us an update about the situation now at the American University in Cairo.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Rasha and Dr. Hussein and everybody at the Kamal Adham Center and AUCTV. Your role is always important, being in mass communications, but especially in times of global crisis that impacts our community, the role of communications is absolutely central. So what you do is an essential service to our community. Thank you. And thanks for this opportunity to speak with our audience today, not simply to relate information to you, but to speak with you. There's a reason that we put our Vice President for Communications in charge of our task force, and that is because communications is at the center of managing any crisis. Communications means listening, connecting with all of our people, our students, our faculty, our staff, and so Vice President Dina is orchestrating us all to make sure we're responsive. So an update. We continuously update the community through our website with the latest information that we have available. We try to validate information so that if you hear a hot rumor or see a hot report, please don't just flash it around to everybody you know on social media. You may just be infecting the community with another germ of misinformation, of fear, of anger, of things that may simply not be true or helpful. If you have a question, you've come across a report that's interesting, please feed it into our working group and we will do our best to validate it. We're in great touch with the government of Egypt, with the foreign embassies here, particularly the American embassy, and we're in touch with each other. So I think we're doing fine. The short version is we've rolled with these huge changes to the way international higher education does its business. We've rolled pretty well with the online learning processes, the technology, the training. Our Provost and Dr. Aziza will speak in great detail in the second half of this session this afternoon about that. I personally have been receiving a lot of emails from students as well as faculty, many expressing their pleasure or their relief at how well things have worked, but also many expressing concerns. The concerns are all valid and all natural, and the Provost and his team and the faculty are working brilliantly to address each of those. As to community health, so far so good. Let me reassure everyone that we will share news as we get it. We have absolutely no reason to hide any bad news. Sooner or later, we're probably going to get bad news. Every time there's been a case where a student or a faculty member or a worker or anyone has shown any kind of symptoms, they've acted according to the flow chart that we've published on our website. You know, if you're feeling sick, stay away from others, get checked, and then we work through how people get checked out. So far, the handful of cases that have popped up has each proven negative. Thank God for that. Let's hope it stays that way. But someday, probably it won't stay that way. When that happens, we will respond. We will make sure that person or persons who maybe who get the contagion and then it's proven, it's validated that they actually have it, we will reverse engineer. We'll check, as public health authorities do, who has that person come into contact with, let those others know. Everyone takes the obvious precautions, self-isolation for 14 days. Let me just reassure everybody, we're not going to be hiding things that are scary. naturally scary or unpleasant, we will be very truthful. But we're also not going to go recklessly spreading rumors. We will put out what we know when we know it and when we know things to be true. So that, I'd say we're doing well so far. I'll leave to later the Provost and Dr. Aziza speaking to the specific status of how well we're doing on the online front.
Okay, so I want to confirm again that there are no cases that were tested positive at AUC.
Absolutely. As of this week, as of the end of this academic week, no cases have tested positive, and I'm not even aware of any that are in question at the moment. There may be, but I'm not aware of any we're still waiting for tests to come back.
Okay. President Ricciardone, again, we have heard that many campuses, if not all of them at the US, that closed down, which is going to reflect on the lives of the faculty, of the students, and of the staff. Is there any additional measures or policies that AUC is preparing ahead?
So yes, of course we're in touch with American higher ed. We track what others are doing. We're adopting and adapting best practices. For us, we have not closed down our operations. We're dedicated to what we think we know our students are most concerned about, and that is saving spring term. No student wants to lose the investment of 4 or 5, 6 months of her life or his life in the academic journey, which is all too short for most people, 4 or 5 years for undergraduates and maybe another year or 2 for graduates. Those are precious months in anyone's young life especially. So we're dedicated to saving that by having the minimum number of people on campus we must have to enable students to continue their studies online. All that's working pretty well. We're seizing this crisis as an opportunity to improve the way we do things. The whole world is doing this. We're improving the technology. We're improving the habits and the culture, the training of how to use the technology for online learning and also for remote working. And I think so far we've really led the way in Egypt and are sharing what we know and are learning with the rest of Egypt and the rest of the world. So I'm not complacent. I'm not ever satisfied, but I am very confident that we're staying ahead. When the day comes of bad news, we'll be ready and we'll be able to keep on trucking.
Okay, and what about international faculty and international students? They must be anxious as all the Egyptians are. So what are the measures that you're taking for them and what is your message to them? Thanks,
Rasha. So we are aware that different elements of the community have particular needs. Those of us who are here and operating in a foreign language to us, a second language, we're not with most of our loved ones and friends. We have loved ones around the world, as many Egyptians do. No one wants to be sick in a foreign language or become ill in a foreign country. So the international people who have homes elsewhere, families elsewhere, who will return elsewhere after completing their portions of their lives at AUC, do have special anxieties in times like these. So we are in touch with the foreign embassies, particularly the American embassy, of course, as the American University in Cairo, on a continuing basis. There's a link to our website to the American Embassy's American Citizen Services office that is active, I think, 24/7. And they are exploring opportunities for those Americans who wish to leave, even in a time when the airports are closed. They're in touch with the government of Egypt as to whether special flights might be arranged and so forth. As the administration, the Provost and I have been in touch with our, not just American, but other international students, faculty, staff, to hear their concerns, to see which ones may feel that they ought to go back to their home countries. I can report to you that so far, many of the Americans who have had the choice have chosen to stay in Egypt, as I have. So far, so good. There may be options for them to leave at a certain point.
Okay, Provost Ehab Abdel-Rahman, this is a question that for all the Egyptian and international students, and many were inquiring and raising the question about the possibility of changing the grading system to pass and fail instead of the normal grading system that we have at AUC?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Rasha. Of course, we have received many communication also from our students and faculty about what's going to happen to grading in the future, and the issue of pass and fail came to us a lot. And not only that, actually, we have been discussing that in the group that are actually dealing with the coronavirus situation, and we're ready to roll on any plan in the future, but we're not ready to take a decision yet. So the pass and fail is one of the options that we are considering actually for this semester. But that also it's a very complicated issue that we need to address it at depth. For example, should we give it to leave it to the students as an option? Should we leave it to the faculty as an option? Or should we have it university-wide policy on that? All of that, all those issues we are discussing them. The decision is not taken about that issue yet, but we're ready to take it when the time comes.
Okay, is it related to the extension? If we had another 14 days of campus working remotely, is this related somehow to the decision? Are you waiting until you see if you're going to stay for more time working from home?
I think it's more related to the viability of the assessment that we're going to do to our students. This is the main issue that we're discussing. So it depends mainly on the assessment that we will do in each course for our students. Then we will, then after that, we will be able to take the decision. We just communicated to our students yesterday and to our faculty that we will start doing the assessment. We will go away from proctored assessment, and we will do other assessment. Please visit the website for the coronavirus, because we have communicated to the faculty the alternatives for the assessment that needs proctoring, and we will keep actually watching that. We will keep communicating with our faculty on what's going to happen to those assessments. Then we will roll any decision that needs to be taken in the right time.
Okay, and what are the AUC plans if the shift to the online lasts until the end of the semester, in terms of exams, in terms of grading? You have mentioned in your first email that we should not have, as a faculty, any assessment or exams in the first 2 weeks. But since we are staying for 2 extra weeks until April 16th, when students and faculty will be notified with the proper assessment criteria and methods?
So we have already yesterday communicated to our faculty and to our students that faculty should start actually considering the assessment now. And we changed our position on that. So faculty should start looking into assessment and giving assessment to students, because we don't know. We have a decision that we're going to continue online until the 16th of April. Any decision that will be taken to change that will be communicated on due time to our faculty and students. As of today, the online teaching is only till 16th of April. Are we ready to go for the full semester online? We're ready to go for the semester online if needed, but we did not take that decision yet. That's why we're encouraging our faculty to start doing the assessment they need to do, so we can collect also data about those assessments and be ready by the next decision on that. Okay,
thank you very much. Dina, can you please brief us about the task force? How people can reach the task force, and how do you manage this remote working atmosphere?
Thank you, Dr. Allam, and thank you again for hosting us at AUCTV. It's a pleasure to be here. So the task force really works on 2 fronts. The first is an immediate sort of day-to-day check-in, and we actually had been doing that remotely first thing in the morning. So we kind of start the day, all the members of the task force, with checking in with each other, just to see what news has come in, anything that we need to be aware of. We look at things that are both external to AUC. We sort of are monitoring on 3 levels: what's happening in the world around us, what's happening within Egypt, and then what's happening within the university, anything that we need to track. Then we have periodic check-ins throughout the day, informally, just to make sure that nothing has changed since the last time we spoke. So that's the first kind of level that we're talking about, which is being able to respond to new information as it unfolds. The second level is designed to look a little bit beyond that. So much of the conversations that we're having, us and everyone else really in Egypt and around the world, is what's going to happen next? How do we prepare? what's the next step, what are the contingencies. So much of the work is also about looking at, how can we see just across the horizon of the, current 2-week time frame. And like everyone, we're trying to prepare for multiple scenarios. We're trying to predict as best we can the unpredictable, and be ready. So that's in terms of the kind of day-to-day operations. In terms of, I think, how the task force, how we see ourselves, is really like the eyes and ears. And, we sort of are constantly watching what's happening, and we're constantly listening, which, comes to the second point of your question about the engagement. It is really critical, and we very much appreciate the feedback that we're getting, whether people are sending in questions to this session or sending in questions broadly. You can find links on the website to particular emails for certain types of questions. And there's, I have to also commend colleagues throughout the university in different areas, whether they're the academic or the operational parts of the campus, security, our medical services operation. All of them are really working hard around the clock, and even with us being remote, I think we've all experienced, we've all come to the realization that remote work is sometimes more work, not necessarily less work, and it's probably 24/7 work. It can certainly feel like that. So that is the part about the engagement, and the questions that are coming in are a really important tool for us to be able to know what's on everyone's mind. And I would encourage all members of the community to continue not only to read, but to continue to ask and question and flag for us items, so that we can, just like social distancing and all of these measures are to a large part a personal responsibility, just being engaged and getting through this is also something that individuals can contribute.
Dina, can I ask you how long does it take to respond to the question?
So many of the questions, good question. It really depends. If it's a question, many of the times, as you can imagine, there are questions that we know from before. So if it's a question that we've received before, the answer could come within 24 hours. Oftentimes, the answer actually exists on the frequently asked questions portion of the website. So I would also, and that's now sorted by question type. So I would I would recommend that people, familiarize themselves. There's a set of questions related to medical concerns. There are questions on the academic front. So many times, actually, the answer does exist. If it exists, we can be very quick in sending the response. And then some questions, like the ones I said about, what do you think will happen next? It takes us a little longer, I think, to respond to those.
Okay, thank you, Dina. I would like to tell you that we are also going to have our AUC counselor, Dr. Ashraf Hatem, with us online. But before we go to Dr. Ashraf Hatem, I want to go back to President Ricciardone and ask him a very important question that is in the mind of most of the parents and the students, and that is about the reduction in the fees.
Mm-hmm. The reality is, around the world, in our industry of higher education, is there is no reduction in costs. The emergency increases costs in many ways of operation. The best universities, the most resilient ones like AUC, have been investing for years in being able to continue our mission. Thankfully, AUC is able to continue the mission, so unfortunately we can't cut costs, and I wish we could. As it is, it costs us much more to operate, even in normal times, than we charge our students, because we have an endowment, which, by the way, has declined a lot during the global economic crisis. There's been a subsidy for every student at AUC. That subsidy continues, will continue, even in these harsh global economic conditions. But sadly, I wish I could tell you we could give everybody a discount. We're working harder. We're incurring greater costs. The gifts probably are going to go down in this year of straitened economic circumstances worldwide. You're protected. We're not going to be passing through those increased costs, we hope. But I'm sad to say we're not going to be able to give discounts or refunds as long as we're able to provide our mission at the level that will enable our students to continue their spring terms at the very least.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think Dr. Ashraf Hatem is ready with us online. Dr. Ashraf Hatem. Hi, Dr. Ashraf Hatem, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, Dr.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf Hatem, the AUC counselor. We would like you to give us some updates about the different coordination taking place between the AUC and the Egyptian government.
Yes. Actually, we are working together with the Egyptian government. We are coordinating with the Egyptian government. Before the corona epidemic, and now we are also in contact with the authorities day by day or even hour by hour. So we are in contact with the Ministry of Higher Education, of course, Supreme Council of Universities, but also with the Ministry of Health and the WHO, the EMRO, which is the East Mediterranean region.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf, as a former Minister of the Minister of Health and a former chair of the Supreme Council of Universities, do you think that you're going to have an extension for this online learning till the end of the semester?
Up till now, I don't think so. We are hoping that by the 16th of April, which is the end of the extension period of the online part and the end of the curfew, which was done yesterday, I think we will be things will return maybe to normal conditions if we still have the same rate of cases. Especially we are up to now a low, according to WHO, a low country in the incidence of COVID-19 confirmed cases.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf, let me ask you, as a pulmonary specialist, there are lots of rumors and fake news about the symptoms of the COVID-19, and many people panic once they get symptoms that is very common to the flu. Is there specific symptoms that would alert a person that this is a COVID-19?
No, COVID-19 is a sort of a flu, and that's why it is the symptoms is flu-like symptoms. So anybody who has flu-like symptoms is not by default a suspected cases of COVID-19, except if he's coming from a hot area, which is the 5 countries which were announced by the WHO, which is China, South Korea, Iran, and Italy and Spain. Nowadays, also, if this patient who has this flu-like symptoms have a fever of 38 or more for several times, this is and it's not lowering down with severe dyspnea or coughing. This is the person who has severe flu-like symptoms, and this is the patient who is highly suspected to have COVID-19 at this time, and he should be seen by a specialist to determine what to do, if he will do a CT chest or to do a PCR, which is the test for to get a positive or a negative test for COVID-19.
I will go back to Provost Ehab, Abdel-Rahman, and what is your advice to ensure and to increase interactivity with the students, especially if you're talking about the online and there is an extension of the period of the online learning? So what is your advice to ensure interactivity with the faculty members and with their students?
So my general answer is I'm actually encouraging our faculty to look at different pedagogies now, so they can engage their students. There are so many ways that you can still get into your class and engage your students in a very interactive way to deliver your course. Either if you put your video on a blackboard and you show it to your students and have a discussion with the students later on about that part of your course, or you have face-to-face online class through Zoom, and you have that interactivity with your students. So please consult the website of the CLT, and if you cannot find the information that you want, do not hesitate to call CLT to get feedback from them on how to do interactive classes online.
Dr. Ashraf, we are back with you. How should anyone at the AUC community react when they doubt that they have symptoms of the COVID-19? Should they call the AUC clinic or should they go to a specific hospital?
Yes, I think there is a flow chart which was posted in the website of the Corona website, but again, if somebody has flu-like symptoms, just he must contact the clinic of the AUC, because there is some sort of a questionnaire or a scoring system. And if he has a higher scoring systems score of more than 5 to 6, he should go to he should be checked by a specialist. And we have a contract with the Air Force Hospital which is near the AUC. And if there is severe flu-like symptoms, he should also contact the AUC clinic, and the AUC clinic will prepare something to check him, and then he will go to a fever hospital.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ashraf. Okay, before we finish our first part, I would like to ask President Ricciardone, Provost Ehab, and Dina if everyone takes 1 minute, and if you have an extra thing to deliver to the AUC community.
Well, this is a great experiment today on having an online town hall. I'd like to continue it, take what we've learned from this, always do what we can to improve the technology and the practice. And what I'd like to set is the expectation that maybe every end of the work week, at this time, assembly hour, we get together this way through AUCTV. In between times, use AUCTV, podcast, caravan, print, and our website in a kind of symphony orchestrated by our Vice President for Communications. And that's the way I think we stay linked up. Thanks for a lot of great emails I've got in between. I can't keep up with them, frankly. I do my best. I refer a lot to the Provost, because mostly the different students. I'd like to just express my pride and my faith in this community. So far, we've really done well together. I think it's brought us together in shared anxieties and in shared creativity to respond to the emergency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ehab. You are staying with us for the next segment, but please, if you have a specific message now to deliver to the AUC.
So I would like to thank the whole community, students, faculty, and staff, for being agile, being resilient, and being flexible. And this is the time that we need actually to be at our best to address that situation. And my few words to our students and faculty and staff who are staying home, stay home, stay strong, and stay safe.
Okay, Vice President.
Thank you. I think I have to echo the appreciation. It's, you know, you sort of, they often say about people that you learn what a person is like when you are with them in a time of adversity. So at this moment in this sort of global pandemic, it's actually reassuring to be a part of the AUC community, and I echo the deep appreciation for everyone at all levels who is stepping up, and it's very nice when you get to see people on, even via Zoom, working remotely and staying in touch. So I think my message is one of deep appreciation, and please stay in touch, stay connected.
Thank you very much, and this concludes our first part of the virtual campus conversation. Please stay tuned for the second part.